We ducked into the secluded bay of Balantak Utara to avoid headwinds and to save further wear on the yet-to-be-identified but unsettling noise coming from the engine bay. After provisioning with diesel and supplies, it was time to sail south where our progress would start to get difficult. But first, before continuing this challenging passage, we slipped in a quick dive.
Well, it's an early morning start. In fact, woke up just before the first call to prayer, which I have to say was actually very well done, in tune, and set the scene quite nicely as the moon was setting and before the sun rose. So we've just been getting all our gear together because, as I said yesterday, we are going to go diving today. I've checked the forecast. I think we're good for another couple of days. So we didn't want to pass up this opportunity to go off diving in a new location. So we've come ashore, we're going to have our briefing, and the guys here very kindly said that they would help sort out diesel and provisioning as well. Apparently there is a man that comes around every morning full of fruit and veg, very cheap, so Liz last night put an order in, and the guys here do have diesel to spare, which is great, but there's also a truck that goes into the big city, which is about 3 hours away, and they said they'll get us some diesel as well, so that's all good, isn't it? Nice start to the day. As you can see, as I turn into the shadows, you get the morning sun here. It sets over in the mountains, so you don't see the sun set, but you do get this glorious sunrise which bathes the whole beach, the coconut trees and all the little chalets lined along the beach in beautiful warm light. So it's a good start so far. Let's see how the diving is.
Our first dive took us to a long reef that we'd sailed round the previous day. Being so open to the Molucca Sea, this huge bank is teeming with fish and covered in coral. Andreas, owner of Tompotika Dive School and Paddy Dive Master, had warned us of currents, and he wasn't wrong. The flow was too strong for Jamie to take any macro photography, but the sight was spectacular. As you know, after each dive you have to decompress, so the Tompotika Dive School took us to a rather excluded little haven surrounded by coconut plantations.
Hey Liz, tell us about that dive.
I've got a fat lip. It was 47 minutes, which I think was pretty good considering we had a current against us quite a lot of the time. We're going up, we're going down, going up and down, being moved around. Found it quite hard work, but it was spectacular and it was different. So many of those blue triggerfish everywhere, amazing coral, not like the previous dives we've been doing recently. Very, very different kind of diving, but exciting, exhilarating and beautiful.
Well, this is not a bad place to do our 1 hour decompression in between the dives. Look at this. Just stunning, eh? As Liz said, that dive was spectacular. It was very technical. There was a lot of current. We knew this though. We got a very good briefing before we went, so we were aware of the current that was going to affect us. But even so, quite a lot of changing current depending on our depth and also where we were in relation to the three major peaks of that reef, which, by the way, we actually motored past yesterday when we came down here. It's quite a significant reef that stretches out 2 or 3 miles off the shore. So yeah, but beautiful though. Not so good for stills photography, much more sort of cinematic, big scale stuff. And when I surfaced, I said that felt a lot more pelagic than other dives we've done. But yeah, just fantastic dive, very memorable. Yeah, so here we are, just relax now for an hour before our next dive.
The second dive along the same coast didn't disappoint. With slightly less current, we were able to enjoy the underwater vistas at a slower pace. Having become used to diving the Lembe Strait, where the fish life was less abundant, we were overwhelmed by the vibrant schools of fish at every turn. It's encouraging to see so much pristine coral, untouched by humans and well established on these rarely dived reefs.
So we've just returned back to base after our second dive, which was amazing. It was a really, really good dive. Quite different to what we normally do. There's no sort of real macro. There was a bit of macro actually, but it's really about the cinematic sensation of drifting around this big pinnacle it is. It's actually, the tip is only 5 meters of water and it's somewhere out there and it's not charted. We possibly almost went over the top of it in the boat yesterday. But anyway, yeah, just truly cinematic, and so not so great for photography, but got some really nice video, lots of schooling fish, some quite large fish, reef sharks, rays, turtle. We saw turtle, which is quite unusual here. Sponges and lots of soft coral again. Yeah, it was just so pristine though, that's the thing, it's just so untouched, just beautiful.
Our third dive was an entirely different kettle of fish, literally. This time we walked fully loaded from the beach to explore Tompotika's house reef, less than 100 metres from Esper's anchor. Sometime previously, the guys at Tompotika had placed various objects underwater to encourage coral growth. But much to our delight, this was really a muck dive. We were thrilled to come across some critters we'd never seen before.
That was a nice little impromptu stop, wasn't it? I wasn't expecting to do any more diving now for some months, so that was rather pleasant. So big shout out to the guys at the resort there who helped us out with obviously diving, diesel, provisioning. If you find yourself in this area, definitely hook up with those guys because they are nothing short of delightful, to be honest. Two really nice people, and of course all the staff as well. Right, I haven't woken up yet, haven't had my coffee, but we are going to push on now and head to the next set of islands. Keeping the revs low because of that shaking noise we're getting, but we've got a bit of current with us, which is good, so we're actually maintaining 5 knots. We were going to go to this island here. There's an anchorage sort of just there which equated to about 25 miles from our last spot, but I noticed there's some wind coming up tomorrow, so I said to Liz, well, why not just try and head down to the next anchorage after that. So a little bit longer today, but then we get somewhere a bit more protected and safe. And of course, as we change tack, we changed direction, so the wind was more favourable to get the sails out. So I said to Liz, well, I think we can sail this under the code 0. And she said, I think you better wait for that to pass. That's a big enough storm that it's appearing on our weather radar app. So it looks like we're going this way and it's going that way. So we'll probably meet it somewhere in the middle, but we've got open sea. So we'll probably have to put away the Yankee just as that starts to hit. Well, it's a bit of a dreary motor heading round to the end of this island. and we've got some more cloud that's just come over, so visibility's dropped. We have some fishing platforms which all look identical, and we're just past one. We've got a few more ahead of us, so we just need to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, the current is sort of, well, it's helping us hit 4 knots. That's about as fast as we can go at the moment. Wind, what little wind there is, on the nose of course. Kind of hoping when we get to the next waypoint and we start going down this channel, it's not really a channel, it's actually 2 islands. I'm hoping that we can turn off the wind and maybe just get the head sail out again, but what do you think?
It's wet and I can't see through my glasses. I've just been outside looking in. As far as I can see, it's just fishing platforms, pretty much like the other ones we've seen. So it's a known obstacle that we're dealing with. But we do have to keep a very sharp lookout because this is getting worse as I speak.
Oh boy, this is frustrating. We're just coming around the corner now. So we're now coming down into what I call this channel. And we now have 0.8 knots against us. We're motoring at literally just over 3 knots. Very slow progress. And to top it all, the tide has just turned. We're approaching spring tides. We're now hitting a falling tide. And this tide falls so shallow, it actually goes under chart datum, minus chart datum at low water. So it's a pretty big tide. I imagine that is not going to help us. Could be a while before we get to the next waypoint, and the next waypoint is still not our destination. So one option is to actually anchor down the side of the island here, and it seems to be quite shallow all the way down. The chart says that there's actually built up areas. These are the little red spots you see to indicate that there's a village or a town there, but I have to say, having looked through the binoculars, I can't see anything yet. The only exciting thing was I saw something massive jump out the water dead ahead.
What a difference the day makes, 24 little hours. Can't remember that some song that's been going through my head today because it is very, very different today from yesterday. We were at fabulous Tompotika dive resort, had 3 dives yesterday under clear blue skies in flat, crystal clear seas. What a day yesterday was. It was just so lovely and unexpected and serendipitous. Today, back to normal, 5 o'clock start, get out, try to wend our way round the reefs, a few little nasty surprises along the way. It was shallower than we thought, but it was fine, we got out. And then we started heading south. We've got about 300 miles to get to Bao, all the way down, and then once we reach Bao, we go left. And we go towards Lombok. But 300 miles to get there, and most of the way to us it looks as though we're going to be against the wind, as it was today. Against the wind all day, and also the rain. It pissed down earlier, decks are nice and clean. Good news today is we've got nice flat seas, no sailing, and just the engine, but the engine is, there's slightly problematic at the moment because we've got a rattle, so we can't push it. So we're doing about 3.5 to 4 knots, sometimes more if the current is on our side. Anyway, we've got another, I don't know, 10 miles to go. We're going to go round this headland, see what's there, and find somewhere to park up overnight, and see what tomorrow brings. But yes, what a difference a day makes, indeed.
We just tried to duck into our next proposed anchorage, which is a little village. And as we came towards it, we hit a whole load of overfalls and a very strong current, which is hitting 2 knots. So we're chugging along at 2.5 knots at the moment. God, tedious. He's just putting the snubber on now. We've dropped 40 odd metres in 10 metres of water, 11 metres of water. Not the best anchorage in the world. It's a little bit exposed. There's swell coming in from the south east there, and quite open to the north and the east. We saw those squalls earlier, and it looks like there's another one over there on the horizon. Might come this way, but we decided we'll stick it out for a bit. We'll see how it is. If it is really uncomfortable, we'll just have to get up in the middle of the night and go. As you can see, as we're sideways onto this swell, we're starting to do this. but we'll just dig the anchor in and just see how we sit for a little bit.
The snubber's got it.
I just made Liz take the chain up again. We've re-anchored just a little bit further out. I have a rule of keeping any reef at least 100 metres away from us. It's just an arbitrary figure, but the idea is that once we've put the boat into a stern, having dropped the hook, stretch the chain out, at the fullest length of chain, I like to have another 100 metres behind me. So if the anchor does drag, then you've got a little bit of contingency. It's the usual 6 o'clock start, which is why I'm bathed in this glorious golden morning sunshine. And actually last night's anchorage didn't turn out to be too bad. As expected, the swell did settle. It did continue throughout the night, but we both slept very well. It's a shame we didn't get to go ashore actually. There seemed to be quite a bit of coconut processing going on and one rather large, very well established village. And yeah, it would have been nice to have gone ashore, but we're trying to get down to the town of Bangai. Now, just to explain, I keep talking about this channel. So we have the big island here, and I should check the names of these islands. I will perhaps put an overlay underneath to tell you what the name of that island is. And then you've got the island of Bangai, which is this one down here. And this is the channel I'm talking about. The two islands create a channel. And obviously there's quite a bit of tidal influence, and we're on spring tides at the moment as well. Right now, we've just hit falling tide. We have 0.7 knots of current with us, which doesn't sound much, but with our poorly engine, it's really helping us hit over 4 knots. Yesterday we were doing 2.5 knots for, well, I don't know, what felt like forever. It wasn't, but we just had to get through all these weird eddies, currents and overfalls as the water mass meets between these two islands. So, let's see how we get on this morning. It's not too far to go, but it could take all day.